Are you there?
I am here. Good morning, McGraw and Kelly. How are you?
We are great. You, however, are causing all sorts of controversy on the pages at stltoday.com. You had a nice article over the weekend, or I guess it was posted yesterday, or Sunday night, about this employee at the Archdiocese who was let go for budget cuts, only to find out that he doesn't qualify for unemployment benefits because they don't pay into the system. And boy, have you started a firestorm.
It was interesting. I didn't expect this column to create the storm that it did, but yesterday it was just, it was up to like 500 comments at one point. It got posted on some, I'm assuming on some Catholic internet websites and places all over the country, and people are fired up about it. And what strikes me when I first talked to the person who lost their job, what struck me was I just didn't know. I didn't know that the Catholic Church doesn't pay into the unemployment system here in St. Louis, and most churches don't. Most states, almost every state, exempts churches from paying into the unemployment system because it's a tax, and churches are exempted from most taxes, and that makes sense when you think about it in that context. But from a social justice standpoint, which is how the person who got laid off looks at it, and how a lot of the people who have read the column look at it, it doesn't look good for a church that believes in and spends a lot of time and effort and money on social justice causes to not take care of its own employees when they end up needing a little bit of a safety net. And so there was quite a bit of reaction to it. Most people that I'm talking to, either via email or comments or phone calls, are upset about it. There are plenty who are backing the church, who believe that, you know, if the church wants to send 10 more inner city kids to a Catholic high school instead of paying for unemployment, if those are the decisions that are being weighed, then that's where you balance the economics versus social justice. I see that, and I don't know. I'm not inside the church's financial discussions when those decisions are made. But the interesting thing about it is there are Catholic dioceses across the country that do pay into unemployment precisely because they see it as a social justice issue. And so there is a split in the church community over whether or not unemployment is something that they need to be paying for their employees.
One of the other things, Tony, that came out of the article that I thought was really interesting was this person who you quoted as saying wouldn't divulge his name or her name because they were afraid of backlash either from the Catholic Church or from the parish they're in.
Yeah, and this was interesting because, every time I write about Catholicism, and I grew up Catholic. I went to Loyola University of Chicago and went to a Christian Brothers high school and thought about the priesthood for a while. So, I have a deep, abiding love for the Catholic Church and the faith that it gave me. So I always take with a sense of humor the emails that I get from people when I write about the church saying, oh my gosh, it's the Post-Dispatch church bashing again. And that's the furthest thing from my mind when I wrote the column, but also from the source of the column, who is a lifelong Catholic, who loves the Catholic Church, who goes to Catholic Mass on Sundays, and specifically is afraid, and this is just so sad within a faith community, is afraid that because this person decided to criticize a portion of the Catholic Church, an administrative decision made by, somebody in the church hierarchy, that they were afraid of backlash. And that's just, it's kind of sad, and yet I haven't spoken with them since the column, but I plan on calling them and letting them know that I actually got an email from a former employee of the Catholic Archdiocese here, who is now an employee, an administrative type employee in a different archdiocese, who told me that they were not surprised that there are some issues apparently in the Archdiocese in terms of just employment, just sort of the way employees are treated, where maybe the work atmosphere is not quite what some Catholics believe it should be. And so, it was sad for me that this person felt like they couldn't go to Mass on Sunday after having their name in the paper, but I respected that and understood it. And
well, and it isn't like he was criticizing a doctrine or something. He was criticizing, as you said, an administrative decision not to pay unemployment insurance. That's not one of the tenets of the Catholic faith that he was criticizing.
Right. It had nothing to do with the faith. It had nothing to do with church doctrine. It had nothing to do with his parish priest or any of that. It's an administrative function. It's a decision that that deals with whether or not the church follows through on some of its social justice promises, and in this case, quite a few people apparently, based on the reaction to the column, are offended by it, and would like to see the church reconsider that position.
The bigger story is, how about Tony Messenger telling us he thought about becoming a priest? How about that?
Yeah, there were, there's a lot of skeletons in my closet, McGraw. We don't have time in this brief, interview to go there. But yes, I was, I went through. I actually wrote about this a couple of months ago.
All right, we'll go back and check it out.
You'll have to Google it. Go to stltoday.com and search Tony Messenger and priest. You'll find it.
Ladies and gentlemen, not only is he a great writer, but he's also a great marketer as well. stltoday.com. Go to Tony Messenger. Tony, thanks for checking in. Talk to you on Thursday.
Thanks, McGraw. Talk to you later.
You got it. 625 here, Big 550,